welcome to another Erin Rambles video. Today I want to try out talking about a book that's not the Mortal Instruments, because anyone who hasn't been on my channel long, I usually talk about the Mortal Instruments on my channel, but I'm trying to expand while Shadowhunters is on hiatus. So, booktube is something I've always been fascinated with. It is something I definitely think I would have been very good at if I had have taken into YouTube or took it more seriously back in 2012 when I had my own laptop. But in a way I'm glad I didn't, because in 2010 I was definitely not in the right place to be putting myself out on the internet, let's just say. Facebook memories, if anyone knows that, when you scroll through them, never go beyond 2014 at the very least, because you'll find your most cringy self in 2012 and 2011, and there are videos out there from me in 2012 and 2011, and I'm just glad it did not become a regular thing for me until recently, because they're so embarrassing. Side note, I apologise for my voice. I caught the cold off my nephew, and I'm all blocked up, so if I sound a bit funny, that's why. But yes, I wanted to try talking about a book, and I might do this for a couple of books that I've read in the past. And the type of thing that I want to talk about is problems, because I seem to be very good at talking about problems in books, but more so because I feel like there's wasted potential in particular books. So what I want to talk about today is a book I read a couple of years ago. I liked it at first when I first read it, but it always struck me as something there was something weird about it, and now that I'm older, I think I've pinpointed what was wrong. The book in question is By the Time You Read This, I Will Be Dead. And just to give you guys an idea of what the story is about, I'll read the synopsis in the back. Dalen, I think that's how you pronounce it, I'm not sure, I tried getting the pronunciation up on Google, but it seems to be right, we'll just go with Dalen. Dalen Rice is broken beyond repair, and after a string of botched suicide attempts, she's determined to get her death right. She starts visiting a website for completers, www.throughthelight.com. On the site, Dalen blogs about her life, revealing a history of bullying that goes back to kindergarten. When she's not on the web, Dalen's at her private girls' school, where she's known as the freak who doesn't talk. Then, a boy named Santana begins to sit with her after school while she's waiting for her parents to pick her up. Even though she's made it clear that she wants to be left alone, Santana won't give up. It's too late for Dalen to be letting people into her life, isn't it? So that's the synopsis, and it is written by a woman called Julianne Peters. And when I first read this book, it was, your run-of-the-mill story, pretty much, young adult, suicidal girl, wants to kill herself kind of thing. Maybe finds a reason to live. Spoiler alert, you don't really find out. But the reason that I have a problem with this book is because it kind of falls under 13 Reasons Why syndrome, where it kind of paints suicide in a particular way. And I want to warn people that there are trigger warnings in this video about suicide, self-harm, things like that. If that's the kind of thing that you are uncomfortable with, no problem, click out of this video, click on one of my more lighthearted videos, but just a warning. Yeah, Dalen in this book has been bullied, and she wants to kill herself. The reason that she doesn't talk is because she tried to swallow bleach, and it burned her esophagus, if I remember correctly, and she is unable to talk. So she has tried to kill herself multiple times, and from the very get-go, Dalen is a very unlikable character, which I don't mind, because if we're going to be seeing through the view set of someone who is depressed and who is suicidal, then it's not exactly going to be all flowers and roses through their mindset. We're not going to be seeing like a happy universe, a happy world. You can't expect that. So their attitude towards other people is obviously not going to be what we want it to be. They're not going to be happy or cheery or, just positive. It's not, you can't expect that kind of thing when you're reading through the point of view of a character who has tried to kill herself multiple times. That's not what I had the problem with. And the reason that I say that it has 13 Reasons Why syndrome is because I don't know the right way to put it. Right, I'll try and describe what the problem is. It's one of those books where I get what it's trying to do. When it comes to stories about portraying suicide, you can always sort of see what they're trying to do, but then you can also see what they've really done wrong. And I feel like what Julianne Peters did with By the Time You Read This, I'll Be Dead was very dangerous and very detrimental to people who could read this book and possibly be contemplating suicide. Why did I think this? Well, as it said in the synopsis, Dalen visits a website called www.throughthelight.com, and it's basically this website where you put in the date that you want to kill yourself, but it has to be a minimum of 30 days away, so that you have time to explore the site, blog, look at what other people are saying, and do things like that. And it can only be accessed through a thumbprint. So I assume you have to have a touchscreen computer to use the website. It was never really explained. But yeah, you can only access it because your account is accessed through a thumbprint. So only you can see it, unless someone like forced you, unless your mom like forced you by like your hair to like put your thumbprint in, then no one could see your account but you. And the idea was interesting to see like other people's experiences and what they were saying and what they were talking about their life experiences in the forums, and everyone was either known as Jane or John Doe, because obviously that's what they call unidentified bodies. If a police found a dead body in the river and they didn't know who it was, it would be called John Doe, and if it was a girl, it'd be Jane Doe. So everyone was given a number. I'm not sure which one Dalen is. Dalen was J Doe 071894. And the way I perceive that is that Dalen was the 71,894th person to join the site. They sort of do it by numbers. The first person to ever be on this site, I assume, was Jay or John Doe 1, 2, and 3. And as I say, I wouldn't have a problem if that was all that there was on this site. But on this site, it is also described that there's advice on how to kill yourself. There's literally advice on how to do it. And if this is a site about suicide, then okay, I get it. I know sites like this exist. There are sites out there that exist that encourage anorexia, bulimia. There's people who encourage each other to starve themselves. This is a thing that happens. And if the book had simply mentioned that there was advice on how to kill yourself, I don't feel like I would have that much of a problem with how the story was written, but it doesn't. It goes a step further, and that's where I have my major problem, and I'll show you what I mean. I am only reading one of these, and I'm giving a trigger warning again. If you have a problem with suicide or are struggling with depression or mental health issues of any kind, I really hope you get help, but this could possibly be triggering. I don't like using the word triggering because obviously it's a meme. People say, oh, I'm triggered, but this could really be triggering. So I'm warning you now, this could be triggering, but it's part of what I need to talk about. It's what I have the problem with, but as I say, I'm only reading one. Carbon monoxide poisoning. Effectiveness 4 to 5, as long as you're not rescued. Time minutes to hours depending on concentration. Availability 5. Carbon monoxide is emitted through car exhaust to accumulate sufficient CO concentration 0.32% to 0.45%. A confined area such as a closed garage is required. Pain 1, although symptoms are unpleasant. Note, actual cause of death is asphyxiation. CO binds to hemoglobin, crowding out oxygen, eventually leading to fatal asphyxemia. I might have pronounced that wrong. Early symptoms are headache, dizziness, and weakness, followed by decreased visual activity, tinnitus, nausea, progressive depression, confusion, and collapse. Unconsciousness may be accompanied by convulsions. At 0.32% concentration, death occurs in approximately 1 hour. If you live, you will have brain damage. Why does this bother me, you may ask? Pain level, effectiveness, time. It's not even in this book. This isn't even just listed for carbon monoxide poisoning. It's for jumping off a building, for cutting your wrists, for hanging yourself. This book literally gives you what would be the least painless way to go. So if someone was reading this and they were possibly suicidal as well, because you don't know who's going to buy your book. There is advice in this book, literally written on the pages, on how to kill yourself, and it gives you lists on what's most effective, what's the least painful, what's the most painless, which one works the best, what the symptoms will be if you do it. It's literally giving advice. And as I say, I know that this is a kind of thing that exists. It does exist. It's a thing that is all over the internet. People get encouraged to, as I say, starve themselves, hurt themselves, because if people find a community where they can all be encourage these toxic behaviours, where they can find people who encourage their toxic behaviours, and of course they're going to stay there. And I just don't like how this is done. I feel like this book would have done just fine if it had just said on the website, it gives you advice on how to kill yourself. Because then you get the idea that people go on this site to get advice on what the best way to kill yourself is before the date comes that you're supposed to do it. But instead it goes a step further and it lists out multiple times throughout the book different ways to kill yourself with different pain levels, effectiveness, symptoms. You know, I don't get why that was necessary. And I get that every author has their artistic vision and has the way they want to write things, but I still don't get the necessity of having these kind of facts in this book for people to possibly read, especially since your book is supposed to be about combating suicide and combating depression and helping teenagers get help instead of doing this to themselves, even though it isn't clear what happens in the end. And as I said, I want to talk about books that I feel like are wasted potential. So why do I feel like this is a wasted potential of this book? Well, it has a good idea. The boy that Dalen meets, Santana, I'm going to say spoilers here. If you want to go and read the book, if you're curious about this train wreck, then I wouldn't recommend reading it. I didn't find the main character likable. I've obviously had a problem with how they listed the suicide methods, and I just don't think it was a very good book. I'm just going to say that. So I wouldn't recommend it, but if you're interested, by the time you read this, I'll be dead. Julianne Peters. This is where we're going to start talking about more spoilers. So, spoiler warning now. The boy that Dalen meets, Santana, he has cancer. He has been diagnosed with cancer. He can't go to school because he has had cancer so often. Basically, he's dying. He keeps getting diagnosed. I think he goes into remission a couple of times, but Santana is dying. And I felt like it proposed a very interesting idea in this story of someone who was choosing to try and end their life and someone who had no choice on whether their life was going to end or not. If Santana had the choice, he would live. But he doesn't have that choice because he's dying of cancer. Dalen does have the choice, but she wants to die. And I think, and when they interact with each other, Dalen and Santana, it is kind of interesting. I don't like Dalen as a character, but as I say, I don't know whether to judge that on the fact that they were trying to portray her with depression and she was isolating herself. I feel like that's why she was very rude to Santana. But it made her very difficult to follow as a protagonist, but I suppose that's just part of the territory of the kind of story they're trying to put across. It was a very interesting idea of having this boy who's so full of life, so polite, so friendly, willing to talk to anyone, and he's dying of cancer. And then we have Dalen, who has had a hard life, who's been bullied a lot of her life, who's been called fat, who's had anxiety, depression, all that kind of stuff, who wants to end her life. She's willingly choosing to do it. I thought it was a very interesting idea. I still think it's a very interesting idea to have these two characters interact. But I feel like it's just ruined by the fact that the advice it gives on killing yourself, it kind of regresses the point of what it's trying to be doing. It even says on the back here, National Book Award finalist Julianne Peters shines a light on how bullying can push young people to the very edge. And it can. But why are you giving advice on how to kill yourself in your book if you're trying to prevent young people from being pushed to that edge? I don't get it. It is literally littered throughout this book. I've already found another one right here. Found two more. Lists 3 Actually, it's 3! It's 3! Everything written in italics on that page is the advice, is the effectiveness, the time, the availability, the pain. People could literally take this as genuine advice. You know what I mean? And I just don't understand why it was necessary to put that into this book when children or young adults or teenagers that are possibly depressed are probably buying this book because it says that it represents suicide and depression. And then they find this in it. Advice on what to do, what will be the least painful, which will be the quickest, that kind of thing. It just sounds very pointless. And I'm not an easily offended person. I am not easily triggered, as people would say. But this has rubbed me the wrong way ever since I first read the book. And I first read this book in like 2013, when I would have read any old piece of shite and think it was great. I did not think critically back in 2013. But even then, it struck me as odd that there was big long lists on different ways to kill yourself in this book, and which would be the best to do, which would be the most painful, the fastest, which would be most available to you as a person. People could easily adapt each of the scenarios described on this website Through the Light and take it to themselves. Choose which one is most available to them. Choose which one would be the most painful or painless, depending on what they're looking for. And decide to go and do it. Because that's how the world is right now. People kill themselves. And instead of giving advice in a book that's supposed to be helping people, I feel like people should be trying to discourage it. Have stories where, sure, they don't have to have happy endings, because sometimes you don't have a happy ending. Sometimes you don't have people who are saved. Some people just can't be saved. But the theme with these suicide stories seem to be is that either it's giving advice on how to do it, or like in 13 Reasons Why, everyone else gets the blame, which is something I can't stand. It's not Hannah's fault, it's everyone else's, and she has to make sure that everyone else is made to feel like absolute crap. Not even like absolute crap. No matter how much of an asshole you are, if you find out that someone killed themselves because of you, they would probably go into the exact same depression that you yourself, or whoever it was that's suffering, had themselves. Suicide is not a blame game. That is the problem with 13 Reasons Why, in my opinion. Suicide is not a reason for you to point the finger and say, oh, this is your fault. Most of the time, it's for people to escape. And escape whatever it is that's troubling them or hurting them. And 13 Reasons Why is a discussion for another day, but that's one of the main problems I have with 13 Reasons Why. You should not want to be reducing people, no matter what they've done to you, you should not be wanting to reduce people to the same pain that you have felt. But again, that is a discussion for another day. But yeah, my problem with by the time you read this, I'll be dead. The main character isn't very likeable. Again, I can't say whether that's because she's depressed. She has a very warped view of the world, probably because of her depression. And in fact, it's probably a very realistic depiction of what it's like through the mind of someone who does have depression. But the suicide thing really... this book is literally giving advice on how to kill yourself. So, yeah, I don't think so. No thanks. So that's it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think. Have you read by the time you read this, I'll Be Dead? What did you think? Do you think I'm overreacting? Do you think I'm not overreacting? Do you think I'm not reacting enough? Let me know what you think down below. I have started my blog. It is up and running. I have 2 entries in already, and I'm intending to add another one tonight. So I will link that at the end of this video if I can. If it's not at the end of the video, I'll put it in the description. Check it out. It's erinrambles.com. And yeah, please check me out, follow, like, all that blah. I'm hoping to keep this blog going all year round and keep everyone updated on the goings-on of my ramblings, except in writing this time. So I'll see you in the video next week, guys, and until then, remember, don't follow suicide advice if you find it in a book. Please call a suicide number. I'll include some suicide numbers in the description below. Please talk to someone. Please, if you need help, I'm sure there's someone you can talk to. Even if you feel like there isn't, call one of the numbers and there will be someone willing to listen, I promise.